morning and welcome to The Voices, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. My name is Medina Azaki. A happy new year to all our viewers across the globe, and we wish you a very defining year and one that will be better than 2025. And today we'll be looking at New Year resolutions, starting from the president, the chief-in-chief himself. And let us see how New Year resolution work. What exactly is missing between resolution and work? Today, this is our focus, but I will start right here, right now. I'm being joined in the house by a friend, a long time, a lost and found friend. He's not a person than Roy Edache. Roy Edache is a media executive and a friend to the house. Roy, a very good morning.
Thank you very much. It's a big pleasure to be here and also to look at your wonderful face again and to take a retrospect of the years gone by. I think it's a big privilege.
It's been 2025 has been, wow, what a year. What a year. If we're going to do a rundown of how 2025, went by, what exactly will that be?
I think it's going to be a two-faceted thing. First of all, if you want to take an introspective look at 2025, you will look at failure. You look
failure.
at, yes, failure. Okay. The language is failure. Because the truth is that if we have to be very direct with ourselves as a country.
Failure in what sense?
Failure,
as a country or as a people?
I'll start with it as a country first.
Okay.
Failure in terms of what are the promises at the start of the year? Did we achieve these promises? Were we able to even achieve 50% of what we thought we were able to do? And then what were the challenges? Were we able to even identify these challenges? Not to talk of surmounting them. So when we look at 2025 holistically, I think the first language, if we want to be real with ourselves, is we have failed.
But the government will not agree with you. The government did say inflation will come down drastically in 2025, and I think they were able to achieve that. As of the last inflation numbers that are coming up, is at about 14 point something percent. They've done well in that area, and we've also seen a drop in food prices. We've also seen growth in our GDP. So that's not failure.
All right. When you're talking about economic standard, you only target a success when you're able to achieve equilibrium. Your problems, the solution. Now, you've mentioned those statistics, which are very correct. Inflation dropped a little, GDP, very well, and national income, perfect. But then what were those challenges that came on board? Let us look at the benchmark when it comes to economic development. Have we done very well? What is our tax resolution and the tax reforms? How positive were those tax reforms to the common general populace?
But the tax is just coming up. It just kicked off yesterday.
Oh, of course, the tax is just coming up now. But there were factors that triggered this tax coming on board. Those tax were to mitigate some problems that we never foresaw in 2025. So in other words, when we look at those positives, were those positive enough to really say that?
For you, what are the challenges?
Of course, we had a lot of challenges where our economic downturn was shifted from what we planned for. We have infrastructural underdevelopment. We have insecurity, which springs to other sectors. Now, when we talk about insecurity, a lot of persons will think that, oh, this is just for the security expert. No, insecurity is tied to virtually everything growth. How many companies relocated from Nigeria 2025? I could mention 5 or 6 of them.
Okay.
How many investment were successful in the course of 2025 from January, or let me even take the last quarter. How many were successful? I will tell you that dropped by 20%. So when you look at these things and then we sit down and said, okay, what is our GDP for this month? What is our national income? Is there progress? The question is, a developing nation that is planning to become a developed nation will look at what would have achieved if this prospect were right. So if you put those statistics together, you say that we have underachieved. Because if those statistics, infrastructural underdevelopment, insecurity did not come to play, or we manage them very well, then what we are looking at now will be a small scale compared to what we would have achieved. So that is failure.
Okay. And one of the most alarming, event in 2025 is the U.S. airstrike right in our territory, where some people have said our sovereignty as a nation has been threatened.
I think diplomatically, we have not done ourselves any favor. I was looking at the international diplomatic stand of every nation from the United Nations page, and I saw that Nigeria dropped by 7 places.
Wow.
What that meant is that our sovereign identity had been ruptured. If the United States can come to solve our problem for us, then that means that as an entity, we're unable to handle our problems. What does that mean? That means that as a nation, we are failing. So that is a dent on Nigeria. Remember, we have this tag, the giant of Africa. We were the major players when it came to ECOMOG, solving problems in Liberia, in Sierra Leone. Now we have our internal problems and we're unable to solve them. Remember that this also spilled to Burkina Faso when we had issues, internal military issues with Burkina Faso. So that is a big dent. And now, for economic experts, you will quickly know that these have a strong connection with our growth. The diplomatic image we have right now is not one to write home about. It's a terrible one. So if Nigerians sit back and said that, or the proponents of this government sit back and say that, okay, we've done very well. Yes, we have to applaud them. Let's be realistic here. We have to applaud them to a particular level. But on a holistic view, have we really done well in terms of our international image? It has been badly dented. In terms of our projection for 2026, whoever that's going to do the projection will have to sit back and take a retrospect of 2025. What were our challenges? Were we able to solve this problem? Were we even able to identify this problem? How come the United States will have to come identify a problem and then breach our sovereignty to come handle our problems? And what we are hearing shamefully is that, our government is aligning with them. What happens to we taking care of our problem ourselves? Yeah, we understand that some problems require international assistance, but this has been long overdue. And the fact that we cannot identify them is a big problem.
And the assistant doesn't mean they should strike us right in our territory.
In our territory. Yeah. I mean, it's simple to have intelligence reports and say, okay, we already have these and maybe we need assistance to a point where we cannot solve them. Not, first of all, the problem was identified first by external forces, external organization, the United States. And then to the point that they have to do these on their own. Do you know that President Donald Trump was watching it on his page? This is not the first time we're having this breach. I spoke with a security expert who says that before now, a couple of years ago in Kaduna State, the United States came to, they breached, I will not use the word breached, they came into Nigeria, came to pick an American who was kidnapped in Nigeria. And they came to our airspace and nobody knew about that. And they watched it right there in Washington, D.C. So
it was rescued.
Yeah, it was rescued. I mean, it was clear. The hostiles were eliminated. It was clear. It was on YouTube, it was on page there. But the government in question never knew about this state. So that goes to tell us that the number of kidnappings, the level of insecurity, we do not even have a data page for that. We don't even know some of these states. It's a dent. And let me tell you, international organizations who want to invest in Nigeria will have to think twice. They'll sit back and think, okay, before we put up a projection to invest in a 10-year program here, what is our assurance that we will be secured? What are the assurance that our business will survive this torrid period and torrid environment? It's a question that economists will sit down and say, okay, what are the options do we have? Is Ghana a better option? No wonder you see that a lot of companies are shifting to South Africa, to booming economies in Africa. What happens to Nigeria? We have the resources. We have the technical knowledge. But what we don't have is the willpower to do what is right.
Okay. So let's start the year on a resolution note. Let's come back to 2026. Before we go to the president resolution himself for the year, which is said it's going to be a year of economic boom. He's consolidating on the gains of 2025. But let me ask you, what does New Year resolution literally means? Because we just speak to it, my New Year resolution is to buy a car, is to buy a house, is to buy this, is to do that, is to do... What are you doing New Year resolutions?
I think for me, New Year resolution is all about being optimistic.
Okay.
For Nigerians, I think we tag optimism to be New Year resolution. I am optimistic that this year I am going to get a car, I'll get a new house, I will do this, I will do that. It's pure optimism. You only put up a resolution when you first of all identify your problem and then you have a roadmap to solving this problem. Do you know that a lot of persons who put up New Year resolution don't even know how to go about them? No wonder before the first quarter of the year, they've lost that resolution already. Okay, let me tell you, if I said I am done with having too many friends, I want to have just cordial friends that I'm going to work with. I have 20 friends and my resolution is that I'm going to cut out the number of these friends out. And I don't have a roadmap as to cutting these friends. I know that every Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, I sit down with them to watch football matches. And that same roadmap is still active. So I'm not defining a roadmap to cutting off this problem I think I will resolve in the course of the year. We do not have any defined pathway to solving the problems we identify as the resolution we're taking up for the next year.
So people just wake up.
People just wake up and tend to be positive, tend to be optimistic, and they tell themselves.
But is it wrong to be positive? Is it wrong to be optimistic?
I think it's okay to be optimistic. It's okay to be positive, but it is just part of self-gratification and just to ease your pressure by telling yourself this is what I'm going to do. This is how the year will pan out when you do not have the roadmap to achieving those things. The big question we should be asking ourselves when it comes to New Year resolution is that, do I know my problems? Am I ready to solve this problem? If I'm ready to solve this problem, how am I going to go about them? So if those things are not there, the New Year resolution is just mere rhetorics. And I think that a lot of Nigerians are only talking about New Year resolution now. Ask them, 2024 to 2025, you put a resolution. Were you able to achieve 50% of those resolutions? So we are going to go back on that.
So what does it take to achieve your resolution? So that you don't just wake up and say you want to do A, B, C, D.
What it takes is first of all, identify your problems.
Okay.
What were my failures for the past 1 year? And you have to be very objective and realistic with yourself. It is not just mentioning them. I sit down as a man and I tell myself, okay, as a father, as head of a family, as a man, where have I failed? You need to be very realistic and be objective and be truthful to yourself. So have I identified those problems first? If I've identified those problems, what do I really want to change? Because the truth is that we are not perfect. Nobody will sit down and say that I want to achieve perfection come 2026. It's not possible. So realistically, what can I achieve? What am I going to change? I identify what should be changed. How am I going to go about it? We've mentioned over 3 things now in a bit of resolving or coming to a resolution as to what will change. So it is not just about word of mouth. It's not about writing it down. It's about identification and then defining how to go about solving or removing or eradicating that problem. Until we have these well defined, resolution is just mere rhetorics. So I think that is where we're lacking. A lot of persons just jump into there without identifying and thinking about how to solve them. Some might have identified them, but they do not know how to solve them. So you allow nature to take its course. You allow life to take its course and you tell yourself you are resolving a problem you already did. No, life will not take its course.
But people are always very skeptical when it means them identifying their problems. People just feel they don't have personal problems, that all they have is a country problem, an economic problem, a social problem. People don't identify a personal problem. So shouldn't real resolution start with individual's problem? For instance, how disciplined am I? How honest am I? How kind am I? How wicked? Those kind of things that you need to fix first.
The people who criticize government fail to look inwardly. Who makes up Nigeria? The citizenry makes up Nigeria. And most times when we talk about the failures of the government, give this individual, create a small sphere for them and put them in that position, they will fail. A lot of them have failed from the family environment. They failed in their businesses, but they are very quick to criticize the government. So I want to believe, I'm keen into what you just said, that a lot of persons don't think about being truthful to themselves. So the first step is be truthful to yourself. Tell yourself the truth. Have you even failed? I find a lot of Nigerians being fanatics. You tell them, oh, it's well. You see somebody who have a problem will tell you, oh, it's well. A broke man will tell you, I am rich. You are not being realistic to yourself. Yes.
He's been positive.
He's been positive. Yes. Positivism goes to a level, but it doesn't solve the problem completely.
Okay.
Somebody who is sick will tell you, I am well. But you're sick. So why don't you tell yourself the truth? You are sick. You are broke.
He doesn't want to prophesy sickness.
Even if you prophesy it or not, is it not there? You can't change it. The fact remains there. Imagine I am broke and I tell you I am rich. And I need to get some things. I need to take care of the family. My just prophesying the fact that I'm rich, have it solved my problem? No. So the first thing is that let us be truthful to ourselves as an individual, and then as a government, then as an entity. So if that is lacking, you see, that's the difference between realists and people who just think that the problems are just there because somebody have put those problems. Why don't you think and ask yourself, am I part of this problem? Could I have done something different to correct this problem? So when we start sitting back and said, okay, Nigeria is in turmoil, we have a problem. Am I part of this problem? What I say, the mindset I have, could it be part of the problem? You see, the problem we have in Nigeria is sentiment. And sometimes put together the sentiment, it turns into a rolling ball that magnifies into a big problem. Could I be part of this problem? Am I part of this problem? What do I sell out as a person? How do I project prejudice? Prejudice about my race, my religion, my personality. If my person is in government, how do I project that person? Am I being honest? Am I being objective? So when we are not truthful to ourselves, we only sugarcoat the problem, and then when it busts up again, we try to shift blame. So first problem, how to solve it is identify the problem. Be truthful to yourself.
But let's come to the religious institutions.
Yes.
For us Muslims, we don't celebrate New Year. But if we go back to the church itself, has the church failed in terms of shaping individual, character? Because all crossover that you hear, 2026 is going to be prosperous, it's going to be productive. I see you buying a house. I see you traveling abroad. I see you do this. I see you do that. Nobody speaks about salvation. Nobody speaks about the individual being a better person.
You see, Nigerians will made us very gullible. And because we are gullible, we've already set a pattern for religious clerics to tell us what we want to hear.
Okay.
So religious leaders today, clergies, they end up telling you what you want to hear so that you can be part of their churches. I will talk from the Christian perspective. I'm a Christian, a born Christian. I remain a dedicated Christian. But the truth is that Christianity has failed. You can criticize me for all I care, but you sit down and tell yourself the truth.
How did it fail?
It has failed because we've not projected what Christianity is all about. We are now preaching prosperity. We are preaching self-gratification, church identity. We've lost it completely. Now, let's go back to this changeover, or what they call it. Crossover. And people will sit down the crossover night. I took time 3 years ago to run a documentary on the crossover night. What is being said?
Okay.
What are we crossing over? What's the difference between crossing over from 2025, the last day, to 2026? What's the difference between that from crossing over June 5th to June 6th? What are we changing? What are we doing? The clergies will tell you, your problems have been left behind. New Year is a good way. New Year is a year of blessing. Very good to be positive. But how do those blessings come? Somebody, a thief, somebody who is dubious will come to church on that day, and you tell the person, we are crossing over right now. All your problems are gone. But the person switches over with what he or she is doing. Why don't you tell the person, this is what you're doing, look at the repercussion? We don't preach faith anymore. We preach what people want to hear. And people don't want to hear problems. They want to be positive without first of all finding the problem. So I will repeat this again. Our clergies have failed. Religion have failed. Religion have gone into selling themselves, selling what people want to hear. If the religious head, if God in itself want to sell what we want to hear, he wouldn't have identified a problem. He wouldn't have even tell us that we are sinful humans from birth. He would have told us that, don't worry, you are sinful, forget what has happened, tomorrow will be a good day. Well, tomorrow will be a good day. First of all, identify your problem. The clergies are, what they're doing right now, it's pure business. People can argue that. But except you don't want to be truthful to yourself. Do you listen to preachings in our churches? 2-hour preaching and somebody's reopening the Bible for just one, twice? What are you preaching from? You're preaching from a personal experience. You're preaching from what others you think will be good for them.
But people have also said that the church or the mosques should also focus on social issues, on economic issues, because this is the reality of today, and so that their members will be able to align with the happenings around them. How do you react to that?
Unfortunately, when they talk about dealing into social media, they do this for their own benefit. Look at, I will not call any name, but there are religious organizations today who put up institutions. oh, this institution is to salvage the educational problem. They put up businesses and they say this business is there to curb the economic pressure. Have you gone there to see whether this is really solving the problem? The institution, educational institution they're putting up, how high is their tuition fee? Like I said, I did a documentary on religion today. Where are we in Africa? And I discovered that it's mainly for business. While the umbrella in itself is, oh, as a religious body, we are delving into social problems, we're delving into economic problems. This is what we want to do. We have an institution identified to this organization, to this religious body. We will solve the educational problem. Can you pay? A poor man cannot pay the tuition fee there. There are businesses that identify to different religious organizations that whatever they do there is way higher than what the common man could get out there. Have we solved the problem? So, truth being told, this is mainly for their own pockets. Let me be frank with you. We know these things. It's just that we fail to tell ourselves the truth. Have you looked at how lavished our clergies live? Where is their source of income? They say that they do this for God. You should bless them. There are poor people there. There are civil servants in that churches. There are unemployed in that churches. There are people who sell biscuits, pure water on the road in that churches. How well have they benefited? But you're flying jets? What happens to... Okay, let me go to Christianity itself. Did Jesus Christ have a car? He doesn't even have a colt, a small donkey. He borrowed the one he wanted on the Pentecost. I mean, on the night where he wanted to have his disciples talked about. You think he doesn't have the means to do that? But he was going out to meet the major needs of those around, humanity. We've sold that. Let me tell you something. People tell you that, oh, you see people giving out bags of rice, oil. Why is the camera there? You do these things and you put
Maybe
the camera
for
there.
documentation.
For documentation, I would tell you for publicity, for personal gratification. That's the truth. If you really want to solve problems, are you telling me that we don't have suburbs, we don't have poor Nigerians in the villages, in environment that you can go and help without putting that tag name to yourself? It is a competitive environment. It is just like business. This church is doing this, and then you go to YouTube pages and social media pages of our religious organization. You will know what I'm talking about. These things are showy display. We've lost the faith. If Jesus Christ want to do things, yes, the Bible was there to record a whole lot of things. But you see what he says? He said, well, each time he heals or does something good, he said, go out, do not tell people about this.
But do you blame them? We became materialistic as a people.
Yeah, I started by...
And you said that,
yes,
people, clergymen across religions, they tell us what we want to hear.
Yes.
So when you now say it's a business, it's not their fault because we created the environment. We wanted to hear miracles. We wanted, miracles without work. We wanted to build castles in the air without, working. But has the environment itself, the country environment itself, the socio-economic environment has forced us to believe in miracles because hard work today is not rewarded.
So why do these clergy say they are called? Where is the calling? If you are actually called, were you called to be a business expert? Were you called to make money at the expense of your religious organization? The truth is that nobody called you. You called yourself. If you're actually called, then you will not be preaching prosperity. Do you take money to heaven, so to speak, because they believe that all righteous will go to heaven? Are you taking money to heaven? So what are you selling to your followers? I think it is high time to define the role religion is playing. We have allowed religion.
Who is going to define that role?
Unfortunately, the clergy who are supposed to do that have turned the tables to personal gratification. That is the plain truth. It is now left for the common man to sit down and ask yourself a question. Why do I even go to church? The past 1 year that I've gone to this church, morally, have my life gone for better? Economically, have I gotten any advice from the church that made my life better? My prayers, how well have my prayers solved my problems? Am I praying? Am I giving more credence to my clergy than to God? Do you know that today people pay more credence to their clergy, to their fathers, to their pastors, than even God? People worship these personalities than they give this credence to God the Most High. So haven't we failed? Is it not clear enough for Nigerians to see that we have given much attention to the peripherals of religion than to what the faith is all about? That is why I say that our clergies, whom should redefine, whom should change this perspective of Nigerians, are the very ones drawing attention to themselves. Why? Because we are gullible. I go to church, I want to hear how 2026 my business will boom from a 50,000 business to a 5 million naira business. How does that work? Go to an economic school. Consult an economic expert. They will tell you what to do. Not in the churches. Our churches should be where we use the Bible to correct the moral anomalies. Our religion environment should be where we now tell ourselves that we should love our neighbors. Not because whoever is my neighbor should not be my tribal person. Express this love. Show them from the Bible. Give them examples of those who've done this. And then give us example of those who have shifted to the other side.
But even this clergy that you talked about, they've also preached love. They've also preached neighborhood. They've also preached...
I was listening.
Is it that the people just don't understand the love that they are talking about?
Well, the love we are talking about, I will tag this word personal gratification. Okay. If you look at the undertone, if you listen to the undertone of any, I challenge whoever that's listening, that's watching now, that by weekend, please listen to a clergy. Listen and be objective. Whatever the sermon the person is preaching, please underline the undertone of that and see if these things I'm going to tell you are wrong. There will be prosperity, financial prosperity there. You will hear very little about how the Bible can change your life. You are going to hear 90% of personal experience, personal opinion. As a clergy, you don't have an opinion. Your guide is the Bible or the Holy Quran. But when you hear somebody now telling you that, you see, I was hearing somebody who said that, oh, I missed my flight, I went here, I prayed. Prayer happens. But let's be realistic. Stop selling fake stories so that people will key into your church because
his flight was delayed and then he prayed and
then the flight was immigration now keyed. The spirit now engulfed all those in the immigration. The flight that was cancelled before, I don't know whether the engine, a whole lot of stories that are so lame. But because we are gullible, we tend not to see the truth. This is 2026. Do we want to grow? Do we want to identify our problems? Let us start with the religious bodies. Let us start with our clergies. We don't need to challenge them.
And then one funny thing that I observed also in all the crossovers over the years, when you see countries like China, Australia, all these countries that welcome New Year. They welcome New Year with fireworks, with display, with showcasing what they believe, their values. If you see what China did, it's all about their values being showcased on that. Meanwhile, us here we are crossing over from a church or from a mosque somewhere.
I took a walk on that crossover night, and at exactly 5 minutes after 12, I just said, let me stroll around, and there were loud chantings, musical shouts, pastoral sermons from different areas, different churches I walked around. And I asked myself, this pastor, those in attendance that are chanting and shouting, have you asked yourself what 2026 would look like? Are you prepared for 2026? You just mentioned what China, Singapore. Look at what Singapore did. 5 minutes to the end of 2025, they were going a retrospect of the progression they've made. They were identifying these things. They were talking about the little problems they need to solve. Okay, we've gone 80% of these. Look at our road, look at our infrastructure, look at medicals and all of these things. And then at exactly 12 o'clock, exactly the switch to 2026, they said they put up a projection. This is what we want to do. That is well defined. But we find in Africa, we all run to churches to beg God. Have we forgotten that it is written there? Faith without works is dead. So believe without works, you're just wasting your time.
Could that be the reason why you said people resolution end up in the first 3 months?
I'm telling you, the first 3 months will be long. It is before that we say first 3 months. Now resolution dies the first 3 weeks. I challenge whoever that's watching right now. In the 3 weeks from now, please ask yourself, those resolutions you put up there, are you ready for them? Have you achieved them? Are you working towards them? We've forgotten them because we've been overrun by the problems. The same problem you think you're resolving to solve, you've already been engulfed by those problems. Why? Because you can't even identify those problems. Do you know that Nigerians, we only know our problems when we have been affected at the present by those problems? I am indebted today to somebody. I know, okay, this person, I need to pay this person. But because maybe I gave the person on the 5th, I'm going to pay you your money. 5th comes and goes, the person never called, I felt that problem is gone. You're lying to yourself. So let us sit back and tell ourselves the truth. Identify your problems. Okay. We don't know these problems. When we know this problem, then create a defined pathway to solving this problem.
Okay, we have a lot of Gen Z, generation around us. But before we come to the Gen Z, let's go to the president himself. Talking about definition of problems and prospect. He's already saying, 2026 is a year of consolidation on the reforms of 2025, bringing down inflation further. The tax law has just kicked off, and he said that will do well in helping us with our infrastructure. He's also looking at the GDP, growth. So the president has defined what he wants as far as the fiscal and monetary policy is concerned. He's looking at a very stable exchange rate. 2025 has, we've witnessed some kind of stability as far as the exchange rate is concerned, and he did want to consolidate on that. He's saying it's a robust, economic growth for Nigeria.
I think it's all right for the president to put Nigeria in that positive mood. It will be terrible for a nation if the president comes out and proclaims doom for 2026. But at the same time, I will still look at whatever the president has said as a little touch of campaigning, because when you tell us that a little touch of campaigning, let us be
but it's okay to campaign.
It's okay to campaign. Yeah. But when I said a little touch, is that you want us to take a little tilt at 2026 will be better because 2025 seems to be better. Fine.
Seems to be rough.
Let me even use the word seems to be better at the tail end.
Yeah.
But he mentioned correctly there is a little bit of economic growth at GDP, a little tilt, inflation a little bit down.
Yeah.
But then the later part of 2025 we witnessed one of the most terrible, torrid period when it comes to insecurity in Nigeria. Now, when we talk about the gross domestic product, our GDP growing, fine. How do your GDP grow? Your GDP grows when you have your national income more than your expenditure. How do you get your national income? There should be economic development. There should be government, private sector investment. How many private sector are willing to invest in Nigeria with this terrible security problem in the country?
Okay, let me tell you what the president said he will do as far as inclusive growth and national social development. He's saying that Nigeria they'll be coming up with a program aiming to bring at least 10 million Nigerians into the productive economic activity by empowering at least 1,000 people in each ward of the 8,809 words across the country. So 1,000 young men and women will be empowered in each of our words.
See why I'm not surprised when I said that it's a little touch of campaigning? Have we all forgotten recently when we hear the campaigning that over 5,000 Nigerians or how many Nigerians will be taken care of, even to the point that Nigerians are being fed on daily basis. These are all campaigning. Okay, fine. Let me take his words. I am not completely against what he has said. It could be that is the game plan for economic growth. But then are there structures on ground to really achieve that? What are the structures on ground? Look, when I was listening to Xi Jinping in China, and when he was talking about some years when he was talking about this is what we want to do, there was a clearly defined blueprint to achieving that. You want over 10,000 Nigeria in every ward. On what basis? What are the grounds?
1,000.
1,000 to be economically empowered.
The question I wanted to ask when you raised that is the states that are affected with insecurity, Zamfara, Sokoto, Katsina, Northeast, some part of the Northeast.
Yes.
I want to see which word will you go
and get this 1,000 persons.
1,000, because virtually, like my local government of Borno State, almost everybody is in the local government center. All the words, all the villages have been cleared by Boko Haram. So everybody is in the city, the local government center. You can't even go 5 kilometers. So where will you get the one word?
See, that's where we said a lot of things are just campaign rhetorics. Whether we like it or not, we're in a campaign, Whatever anybody says, especially in the seat of power, look keenly. You will see a touch of campaigning daring. Let us be realistic. Now, let us even take it that this is what the government wants to do. The president really wants to achieve this. Like you mentioned, I know Maiduguri very well. I know Mubi. I know Adamawa State, Zamfara, I know them very well. Let us even just key into Maiduguri now. You're talking about going into the words. Who are there in the word? What business, what economic development do you want to put somewhere in Malam Factory that you think 1,000 youths, 1,000 beneficiaries from Malam Factory will be there to benefit? Is it a company? Malam Factory is, as far as we're concerned, is almost non-existent because they fled, not because they want to run, but because of the pressure of insecurity. So why don't you start by solving the problem of insecurity first? Which organization international private base that want to invest in those insecure environments. So we are not solving this problem.
No.
We are just...
But the president is saying, as far as insecurity is concerned, he said that in 2026, our security and intelligence agencies will deepen cooperation with regional and global partners to eliminate all forms of threats to national security. So it's talking about deepening cooperation and collaboration across the region and across the globe.
In 2025, there were better languages that were used.
Okay.
In terms of, we are going to curb insecurity. Insecurity will be a thing of the past. Where are we today? So you see that we are good at a lot of talk without works. Now, we want to just paper the cracks so that Nigerians will go home and sleep until it happens to them. You talk about solving insecurity. I mean, we are no longer gullible. What have you solved? We cannot even track social media propagandas from all of these terrorists. They come, they take advantage of. See, we are a laughingstock in the international environment where someone will come back and tell the Nigerian government and challenge them to their very face and tell them this is what they're going to do. And they eventually do it. And you cannot even track them down. That they're using networks that are certified by Nigerians. Are you telling us you cannot track these people down? So it's a failure, it's a slap. So when somebody comes and tell you that in 2025, insecurity will be a thing of the past, I will just sit back and laugh. What have you done to really take care of that? When these guys, I watched a video where these guys will stay broad daylight on the street, brandishing weapons and dancing, put music there, they dance on broad daylight, block roads, shoot their guns, and nobody could even identify where they are. And we're ready to tell us what? Don't Nigeria have drones? Don't we have satellites? Don't we have gadgets, equipment to track calls? These telecommunication in this country, did we not certify them? Don't we have an edge over them? Can't we mandate them to do this thing?
So many questions that need, answer. But let's go to the most important one that the president said. He said a call to unity and responsibility. He said to achieve our objectives in 2026, we must all play our part. Nation building is a shared responsibility. We must stand together in unity and purpose, uphold patriotism, and serve our country with honor and integrity in our respective roles. Let us resolve to be better citizens, better neighbors, and better stewards of our nation. So this is the self-reflection that we started this program about. How do you become better inward before you begin to dish it out to the country?
I think I want to applaud the president, especially when he was saying that. I really want to applaud him among the many things he's done. I want to applaud that because the president alone cannot do it. Do you know that 90% of our problem is caused by we Nigerians? Propaganda, prejudice. You are selling something you know nothing about. A lot of persons who sell this religious hatred and prejudice are not even in the country. These people propagating or promoting this religious diversity are sitting down in the comfort of their home, secured somewhere.
Couldn't it because they have a lot of jobless Nigerians, idle Nigerians? Because if we are productive and we're very active in what we are doing, we'll not sit down and listen to propaganda.
I think when hunger pushes a man to the extreme.
It pushes him to listen to all kinds of propaganda.
You lose your sanity. You see the truth and black becomes white, white becomes black. Desperation. And people take advantage of desperate individuals. When you see somebody who is desperate and you have 10,000 naira in the pocket, you can tell the person to do anything. You pay and then you define what the person wants to do. So people just sit back and tell you that, okay, you see, because this religious group is being martyred or trying to be removed, this is the hate you need to sell out. And this propaganda keeps on going. The president cannot do it alone. We need to when issues happen, we should stop looking at prejudice. This is the tribal, or I don't want to name tribe. This is this. Let us say we're Nigerians. We're talking about life. If lives were to be lost, be it in Borno State, we are Nigerians. By defined entity, we're in the same environment. We're of the same race. So why would I want to sit down and applaud when other parts of this country are being killed? And when this one happens, I will now say, okay, there are justifications for this. Okay, when we hear about Donald Trump coming on board, do you know that some religious experts were sitting down and applauding the fact that he's coming because of the narrative that's been sold that certain religious groups are being eliminated? We should use the word humans are being eliminated. knock off this religious divide. We're talking about humanity here first.
Okay.
So the president is very right when he says that let us start living as neighbors. We've been living together before. We've been together. I was in Maiduguri for years. I will tell you that the period I stayed in Maiduguri, I enjoyed it far better than the period I stayed within my own tribal men. I've been frank. I never wanted to leave. I got married there. So that's to tell you that before now, when this propaganda were at the barest minimum, we're living very better. But Nigerians started selling this propaganda that your neighbor is now seen as an enemy. Your enemy now becomes your friend because you want to propagate this hate rhetoric that so people from this area. Do you know that we have better Nigerians in the north? But there are certain persons who tell you that the north is a no-go area. So those are the propagandas we sell. If you go to social media, I wonder why Nigerians have not started doing the needful when it comes to social media.
In terms of control.
In terms of control. I mean, if you don't do this, what happened in Burundi, in Rwanda and Burundi? Is it not because they never controlled the rhetoric that's been sold? Oh, the minority, the minority Hutus, no, minority Tutsis were being marginalized, and there were proper promotions everywhere in social media, on televisions, that the minority Tutsis want to take over, use machetes and kill the cockroaches. What do we have? Today we have a global national genocide on record because we never manage what is being sold on social media, what's been sold in the media. You look at a fellow human, call them a cockroach. Today we look at a particular religion and feel that this religion is a religion of wickedness, a religion of marginalization, martyr, and all of these things. We are not helping. The president cannot do that alone. We have
the president needs to lead by example.
He has led by example in this regard. He has told us what we need to hear. Am I living by example as a Nigerian? What am I selling to my friends? When I sit down with my friends to talk about, am I selling that hate? Forget the fact that my friends might be of the same religious boundaries with me, religious front with me. But what I sell to them might be sold to somebody else who have a different mindset, who might have an opportunity to do something bad.
All right. So after talking about people, the country, the president, let's come back to ourselves. So as we wind down, Mr. Roy Edachi, what is your New Year resolution?
I don't have.
All right.
That's the truth. I don't have a new resolution, but I know my problems.
Okay, you only have your problems.
Yes,
okay.
I know my problems.
Okay.
I know my failures. Okay. I sat down even before the last week of the year. I mean, if you know your problems, you know that you've been affected by these problems. You know the ones you've solved. You know the ones you're unable to solve. You know decisions you need to take regarding solving this problem. You know what to do. The truth is that we know what to do. We know how to go about it. It's a different thing knowing how to go about it and unable to go about it because of certain deficiencies. It's a different thing.
Okay, but so you know your problems.
I know my problems and I know how to go about them.
You know how to solve them.
Yes, and I've told myself that, okay, you see, this plan A, this I want to go about solving my problems. If this is not going to work, this is plan B. I'm not going to relent. I have to exhaust all options.
Okay.
And that exhaustion might take till the end of the year. I might not be able to achieve that. I don't pray for that. Okay. But if that happens, it is work in progress. Okay. But first, I know my problems and I'll solve them.
Okay. All right. As for me personally, my own New Year resolution is to be a better human being. Better than I used to be. That's my own resolution. But we're speaking to a lot of people out there. As we wind down, what is your message for Nigeria, especially the Gen Z generation that feels everything is about gratification?
You see, unfortunately, I think we are even trying to fuel this Gen Z into the wrong path. A Gen Z is an adult. We have 5-year-old, 10-year-old who are doing big things in other countries. Let us not excuse this Gen Z because they are Gen Z. And because they're Gen Z, they have the right to do things their own way. No, they should be responsible. As Nigerian, as a Gen Z, ask yourself, are you not old enough to be responsible? Don't you bathe? Don't you brush your mouth? You know those are the right things to do. So go back to what are the things I need to do that are right for myself, for my family, and for those around me. Why don't we take that pathway? Is it by wearing tattered clothes? Is it by going with fashion, what is in vogue on camera and not in reality? So the first thing is that be realistic with yourself. Tell yourself the truth. This pathway I'm going, where is it leading me to? The truth is that people who do terrible things know exactly the consequences, but they just keep going there, or people probably they are being applauded. So we are no longer applauding Gen Z again. Tell yourself as a Gen Z, what does my future hold? Where is it going to lead me to? If I choose to get myself into morally low stand, where would I end up? Would I want to be creative with my life? Would I want to get educated? Would I want to get into business? Define something positive for yourself, for your family, and for humanity in general. And for the rest of us adults, what are we molding? What legacy are we leaving? What are the moral, educational blueprint are we leaving for my children, for my neighbors, for those working under me? If we have this clearly defined pathway, be realistic with yourself, I think we will achieve anything as a country.
All right. I'm afraid we just have to leave it here. Mr. Roy Adache, media executive and a friend of the house. It's been a very interesting conversation with you. Thank you very much for coming in to say hello to us and co-opting you into the program.
Thank you very much. It's a big privilege. And I want to say that starting the year on this very good note only promises positivity. I started by saying, let's not just be optimistic. Optimism works with hard work, but I think optimism is the first step. And I think this is a wonderful place to start with.
All right. And for us at P&B, Politics and Business TV, our New Year resolution is to serve you better with very interesting and objective programs, one that will mold and shape you and also improve our country. From all of us here, it's once again Happy New Year, and we'll see you Monday bright and early. From me, Medina, Zaki, and the whole team here, it's bye for now.